Okay, good morning, everybody. Paul Gazzone here, Associate Principal at Oceanside High School. I'm here with my partner, Dr. Allison Glickman-Rogers, the principal at Oceanside Middle School. And we have Michael White here. Michael White is a member of the New York City Council of Carpenters. And we also have John LaCassia here. John is one of our technology teachers at Oceanside High School. We always enjoy getting our teachers involved in these conversations. And Joe Capone, thanks for joining us. You're here every day. We appreciate that. Thanks for being here. So, Michael, why don't you just start off and maybe just talk to us a little bit about, what is the New York City Council of Carpenters? And then after you talk about what that is, maybe talk a little bit about what it is that you do.
Sure. So New York City District Council of Carpenters is a branch of what we call the United Brotherhood of Carpenters. We are an international organization. We were founded originally in 1883. New York City itself was founded in 1900. And we are the Carpenters Union representatives for Canada and the United States. So we are fully international, fully operational. We basically make sure that tradespeople, not just carpenters, tradespeople are getting benefits, getting proper pay, proper training, and proper health services.
Okay, so what is it that you do yourself?
I'm a business agent or a business representative, and that gets broken down into a couple separate things. One of my duties full-time is I check on the jobs that we have, and I make sure that the companies that are signatory to us are doing the right thing. And I make sure our members have all the proper gear they need. I also make sure that the matching ratios, one of the rules that we have to follow is we need union representation on site. That's in the way of a shop steward. And what they do is they track the hours, they follow the contract guidelines, and they make sure they're the feet on the ground that make sure that the job sites are going as planned. And then I'll convene with them, and I'll have hundreds of jobs at the same time that I have to convene with throughout the day. So that's what I do. I used to be a foreman in the field, and before that I was an apprentice, just like everybody else. And I was just working my way up. I've been in the union about 11 years now.
Is that shop in your house, or is that a work shop?
Yeah, no, that's my house.
Wow.
John, what do you think about that workshop? You like that?
If I'd been able to do it on my phone, I would have been sitting in my garage right now. You guys be able to see all the toys. I just got my tractor going. Like I said, my daughter was outside just getting eggs before.
Nice.
So, Mike, can you just talk to us a little bit about the benefits of being part of a union like the New York City Council of Carpenters versus being maybe an independent contractor? Why would someone want to be part of a union opposed to maybe doing work on their own?
Well, I can actually speak to that personally. Every single one of us pretty much started non-union first. And when you're out in the field non-union, you think everything's fine. You're making good money. I was making about $30 an hour. And at the time, that's great money. But there's no benefits. There's no protections. There's no anything. Sometimes I'd even get paid off the books, which means if I was unemployed, I didn't qualify for unemployment insurance. And in my younger days, that's one thing. Now I have a family, I have future responsibility and things I have to plan for. So I started to look into getting into the union because of the back half of things, the benefits, the pension, the annuity, the health coverage, all that stuff is kind of managed and handled separately. Plus the pay is low. I had to take a pay cut to become an apprentice. When I started, apprentices were making $18.50 an hour, which really isn't that bad. For no, theoretically you come in with no experience, someone's going to give you almost $20 an hour plus benefits. Your total package is about $50 an hour. As a first-year apprentice, to not know what you're doing, it's really not. It's pretty remarkable, to be honest. 4 years after that, if you continue on with your apprentice program, our top mechanics are making $53.50 an hour take home, plus $46.66 in benefits, depending on the trade. So it's a big jump from working non-union to working union.
So when you're working independently, you're essentially on your own as far as securing hours, paying for benefits. You're basically running your own business, and in some ways that's a positive depending on the work that's coming in. But when you're in a union, it's a little bit more secure. Is that pretty much all that's kind of like worked out for you?
It's much more secure in the long term, right? We're all at will employees, so if your job ends and they don't have somewhere next for you to go, you have to find another job just like everybody else. But we have a huge network of contractors who will you'll put your name on what's called our out of work list, and our contractors will then pull from that out of work list. So you have that as an option to get work. You can go out and shape your own union jobs to get work, or you can call a buddy and say, hey, we worked together before. You got any work over there? And it's a lot easier to get more work at that same high pay. Whereas non-union, you go from one contractor to another, and you have to negotiate all your own stuff. Sometimes you'll get a little bit more. A lot of times, if times are lean, you're going to get a lot less. Whereas our rates are our rates, and that's what you're going to earn.
Now, after you're an apprentice, is it like steam fitters where you have an A book, a B book, and a C book, or is it?
So it all depends. The steam fitters is one organization, and we actually have 7 specialty trades.
Okay.
That all under carpentry.
Okay.
So I was in the general carpentry, which is basically what you think of when you think of carpentry: studs, drywall, ceilings, shelves, that type of thing that you do in an office, in an apartment. So once you graduate your apprentice program, you become what's called a journeyman. And that classification has changed recently. But your journeyman level, basically, you're guaranteed $43 an hour until you hit 10,000 hours. Once you hit 10,000 hours, which the old adage goes, you need 10,000 hours to be an expert in anything, right?
Right.
And then you become what's called a certified journeyman. And that's where you make your very top pay. It's a $10 an hour job.
Okay.
So John, can you just reference? Okay, good. Yes, keep going.
All right. So, like, do you have to take a test to become an apprentice, or is it just an application that you can fill out? So, say if we have students that are looking to go that route instead of going to college, they want to go right into a trade, or maybe they'll do a trade school first and then go into that. Do they have to take a test first, or is it just an application, then they get called to be an apprentice?
There's a couple different ways to get in. We have our general application by the Department of Labor.
Okay.
As those dates, basically you have to wait online outside of our school for about 3 days, day and night, to get your name onto an application from the lottery. And as we need apprentices, those numbers get pulled. Your name will stay in there for about 3 years. There's also what is if you decide to leave high school and join the military, like I did, when you get out, you can come in through what's called helmets to hard hats, which is a direct for any trade. And then we also have a building works program. It's a pre-apprentice program where we will pay for your travel to and from New York for, I believe it's 6 weeks. And you're direct entry.
You don't want to mic, when you're not speaking, you want to mute your mic, John.
All right, sorry. You can hear all the background noise. I'm sorry.
My wife took the kids for a walk just to make sure they were quiet.
So, Michael, you keep talking about apprentice, being an apprentice. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit more, what that means and the type of experiences that a person might be going through as an apprentice?
So our apprentice program, and you brought up before the decision of either going to college or becoming a tradesman. Our apprentice program is actually college accredited. You get 30 college credits when you graduate, so it's not an and or. You're literally doing both, and they're fully transferable to any CUNY school in New York City. That means all 30 credits will go directly towards your associate's degree and further if that's what you choose. I personally have my college degree and my trade degree. it doesn't hurt. It does not hurt. It's just kind of a personal choice. If you want to continue your education, you can go right ahead. We fully encourage our members to get as much training, period. Not just school, not just safety, not just go learn it all. Our school, you can go to our school for free as long as you're a member and take any class you want. That's from layout to AutoCAD to, as these new CNC programs come out, we're constantly updating. We also have an international training center in Las Vegas, and we'll fly our members out starting at third-year apprentices. We'll fly you out there for training. And then we have several programs for our journeymen, and we pay for everything. We put you up. We have our own hotel. We feed you. We train you. We want you to be the best. And that's really the difference between union and non-union.
So what other types of trade unions are out there, just for our viewers? So I know we're talking about carpenters, but John brought up there's, I'm not really sure who they are, but just give an idea to some of our viewers, what other types of union trades are out there.
So I'll start with the carpenters. And like I said before, we have 7 different specialties. We have our general carpentry. We have our dock builders and timbermen. And what dock builders and timbermen do is not only build docks, they build bridges, they do dive work for caissons. They'll some of the coolest stuff you'll ever see is when they drive the sheets to build a coffer dam in the middle of the river, and they'll pump out all the water so they can build the foundation of a bridge. And you'll see the giant hole with no water in it, and a teeny tiny little, what looks like a toy is actually a full-size excavator. That's how big these coffer dams are that they build. These guys do cool work. We do amazing stuff. We have our floor covers who do all your VCT tile, carpet, concrete polishing. We have our cabinet makers. Let me actually pull this up, make sure I got everything. High-rise concrete carpenters. These guys do what I call the skeleton of the building, and you'll see that mostly when you drive into the city. It's just concrete, vertical and horizontal with orange netting. It's the superstructure, as it's called. Steel can only go so high, so your very tall, super tall buildings are all going to be concrete, high-rise concrete. Those guys, their mornings and their sunsets are beautiful. Dock builders and timbermen we covered. We also have our millwrights. The millwrights are kind of a holdover. It's a really interesting story. Once upon a time, when we had mills that would grind grain, they were built next to a river. We'd use wood to build the spokes. The spokes would turn. It would turn the grain, the stone, and make our grain. So as we transferred from making flour to making power, the carpenters just transferred over. They work in all the hydroelectric plants. They do the nuclear power plants, conveyor systems. They work in absolute minute detail, hundredths of an inch. They're more akin to like an engineer, really, than a carpenter at this point. Then our floor covers we covered, and then we have our cabinet makers, which is what you think of as a like an old-time carpentry outfit. These guys will stay in one single shop and make cabinets, from kitchen stuff to office stuff. Your finished wood panel systems they'll do also, and that's just in carpentry. That's really just
sure.
Then from there you got your electricians, and those will break down into data and power. Your steam fitters, your plumbers, your elevator guys. Those guys are always working because elevators are either always going in, always going for maintenance, or always breaking. Those guys also do the escalator systems. I know I'm missing a whole bunch of laborers.
No, that's all right. I mean, I just wanted to get some general idea, and you definitely gave us some ideas of the different options for students.
Just carpentry alone is a lot.
Paul, we one of our former middle school students who comes to visit, he's an underwater welder, so he had to do a whole bunch of scuba diving training and certification, and he does welding underwater, which I had never heard of. And he's also
is he in the dock builders?
I know that he's in a union. I don't know the details.
That
But he
would be
was,
a duck builder. Yeah, he would be a duck builder.
and he was a middle school student who loved our technology program. Probably left other classes sometimes to go visit the technology teacher, and spent a lot of time in there just working with his hands, learning how to use all the equipment. And we knew that this was the direction he was going to go in. We love when he comes back to visit and talks to the students and the teachers about his experience. So.
Hey, John, maybe this is a good segue for you to kind of talk a little bit about the work that you do, so Michael has an idea of what we do as far as in our tech department.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Sorry, I was just making sure they got out of here before you got the background noise again. So I teach technology education. Technology education is the general term for everything. We teach basic materials processing. So it's basically like a fine woodworking class, cutting boards, desks, shelves, things of that nature. Teach them how to use bandsaw, table saw, planer, joiner, drill presses, chop saw. Then we actually have a principles of construction class where we teach them residential construction from the ground up. I teach them how to survey. I teach them how to lay out batter boards, that if there's an excavator was going to come and dig for a foundation, how to square it off, how to make sure your squares are each one's 90 degrees, how to make sure your opposite sides are parallel and you don't have a parallelogram with your string layout. We talk about laying concrete, what makes concrete, whether precast or ordering it from a truck, how to calculate how many yards you need for a job. We do driveway calculation, foundation calculations. We talk about everything from the floor up. So we talk about floor joists, sheathing, walls, the anatomy of a wall, how to lay out rafters for different pitch, how to lay out stair stringers for different rise and run. We talk about outside sheeting. We talk about all your protecting going to the outside. So your vapor barrier, your insulation, and whether if you want to put a vinyl siding or a cedar shake siding, depending on what your preference is. We talk about style of windows. We talk about architecture of homes, how nobody's house is the same that they live in. Who's got a colonial? Who's got a ranch? Who's got a cape? Then we get into a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of electric, and it's only a half-year course, so that kind of takes up our time pretty fast. We also do sheetrock in the class. I also punch holes in a wall, make them fix a small hole and a big hole, teach them how to repair holes on top of spackling. And then we have engineering classes. So we teach like intro to engineering, which is our basic drawing concepts, orthographic drawings, dimensioning, how to read a set of plans. We teach civil engineering and architecture, where we do every student has to build a 1,000-square-foot home. It could either be 2 or 3 bedroom. Then we get into our commercial, and we have to redesign a factory building, or a warehouse building rather, and we make it into a library for a community. And we teach them about living roofs. We teach them about curtain walls. We teach them how to make everything green, how to let natural light in the building. And then that's a full year course. There's a lot of calculations now, a lot of beam calculation, girder calculation, sizing calculation. To carry a certain amount of load for your tributary area, depending on if it's a column or a girder. And then we have a principles engineering class, and that's kind of like electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, robotics, all in that class.
So you notice a lot of what John's saying is calculations. And it was funny when I took this job, and I figured once upon a time in high school, I was learning math and calculations. And I went, I'm never going to use any of this stuff. What am I wasting my time for? And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, I have to use this every day.
Yep.
Once you do it in physical practice, it clicks so much better than on books.
Yep.
A lot of kids are physical learners or visual learners. And for them, a class like that is a godsend, really, to figure it out. Because once you figure it out, you can then do it on paper very easily.
Yeah. We have we have a lot of kids that stay with us for all 4 years. They don't take many other classes. We have like advanced classes where we get kids who have materials who come back. We're actually building a boat right now in advanced class. We're building a boat, a little 13-foot speedboat with a 70 on it. Last year we did a set of kitchen cabinets, uppers, lowers, an island with a Formica countertop on top of it. So we just try to give the kids a little bit of a little taste of everything. Like as a tech teacher, when you go to become a tech teacher, we go to Oswego, and our famous saying is we're jack of all trades, expert of none. So I can make a lot of stuff happen, but I'm not an expert in any one thing as opposed to another. Like I could definitely find my way around different avenues and make stuff and get it done. But I'm definitely not as experienced as some people because I have a good friend who's actually in the Carpenters Union. I think you might know him, Dustin Undermark.
Doesn't sound familiar.
No, okay. So he's in, and I do a lot of side jobs during the summer with him on the side. And the way he works and the way his brain works and everything.
Is he a redhead?
Yeah, tall,
Yeah.
about 6 foot.
Yep, I know.
Yep.
I was his apprentice a long time ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
Justin's a very good friend of mine. I've known him for 15 years, 20 years probably now. So during the summer, I do a lot of side jobs with him, decks, siding, windows, whatever he needs when he needs multiple people. And just the way his brain works and the way he does calculations and math, we bust his chops saying that he's got to start using his words because he thinks we expect to know what's on his brain when he's doing something.
Yep.
And it's just funny just watching him go.
So Michael, I think it's a good leadway. We always like to ask our guest about skills, right? So you already talked about mathematical calculations, and as far as that as being a specific skill that is important for someone to be successful in your field. But what other skills do you think are highly you need to be highly effective in the work that you do?
It kind of all depends on how your brain just naturally operates. For me, I didn't always think I was going to do carpentry. I was big into electronics and computer repair. I took that all through high school. I used to take apart and I'm dating myself right now to all your students. I used to take apart my mom's VCR, and nobody knows what that is anymore. Flip out. Oh my God, my soaps. What am I going to do for my soaps? And I'd get it all back together in working order before her soap operas would go on. And she was like, how do you do that? And it was just kind of the way my brain was wired. I'm able to physically take something in my head and manipulate it and adjust it and pre-plan and take it apart. So if you have that kind of mentality, you're going to be very successful. That's just one aspect, obviously. If you know how to work hard and you can push hard, you're also going to be very successful. We get up early. We work long hours. Everything we touch is heavy, right? So if you have a good work ethic, period, you're going to do very well. Also, being a good person goes a long way. A lot of people in this industry, it's a very face-to-face, personable industry. You have to build connections. You have to have foremen that like you. You have to have companies that like you. And that keeps you working. That keeps food on the table. If you can blend all those things together, plus learn the math, learn the science, learn the calculations that are a multitude all day, every day, you're going to be very successful. It's a lot. It really is. It's a lot more than people think when it comes to being a construction worker,
Could you tell us, so at the middle school, our students take a half a year of technology, quarter in 7th grade, a quarter in 8th grade. One is a more traditional, shop course. The other one is more of a STEM model. What kind of experiences do you think would most benefit middle school students if our goal is really to help them to discover a talent or a strength or an interest? Is there like a particular project that you either recall from when you were a student that's when it clicked for you? This is something I want to pursue, something I'm good at, or do you have any ideas for activities, projects, specific courses that would be good for middle school kids who are discovering themselves right now? And John, you could, answer that too. I'm wondering if there's more we should be doing or something additional, whether it's an enrichment class or a club. But looking for the entry point for kids where more kids would say, oh, this is what I want to do, and then pursue the courses at the high school and think about the post-high school opportunities. So just looking for some ideas.
With everything John just laid out, I don't know if there's much more you guys can be doing. That's a lot. It's gonna be the end product, right? The end. I remember the first wall I ever built, and I stood back and I was so proud, and I was like, wow, that's a wall that's gonna be there forever. And then the foreman walked by and he goes, yeah, it's a good wall. It's in the wrong spot though. So But I remember that initial sense of pride was like, wow, I built something tangible. It's there. Like if I run headfirst into it, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna take a bit of pride in that end product. The path to it is where all the calculations and science comes in, where you have to, and it's scary. I remember the first time you get put on your own to do something, and you're hesitant, you question yourself, and finally, those baby steps you took along the way for middle school, it's going to be all about those baby steps, the initial math, putting the small things together, and then you parcel it out into little pieces, until all those little pieces complete the puzzle at the end, and that's when they're going to have that wow moment.
Well, I'm in the high school, so all that stuff we do at the high school level. I guess, Dr. Glickman, if we can align the middle school with us and kind of just be able to get the kids to know what we do up at the high school, so that way it kind of like funnels them towards us to get them started on the path of what we do, and then we can continue it up at the high school level from what you guys start in the middle school. So we just basically trying to align the programs a little bit.
Yeah, I guess part of the excitement of doing this show the past week is, I keep jotting down all these ideas. We've had more time than usual to think about things that we want to accomplish. There are definitely students where this is where they excel. This is where their passion is. Maybe we could touch base at some point within the next week or two as we plan for next year, a way to really meet the needs of those kids, so they don't have to wait until their sophomore year to take classes. Maybe there's more we can do in 8th grade, with you guys coming down, whether it's a club or, just a specific an activity, something, just because for some of these kids, this is where they want to go. This is their profession, this is their post high school. And, I'd like to be there to guide them even, starting in 8th grade, so that they're making decisions along the way that will get them where they need to be post high school. So I'm enjoying these conversations because they're getting me thinking. So thank you.
So, Mike, I want you to think back when you were in middle school, and how did you know this is what you wanted to do? Were there certain experiences in middle school that transitioned into high school? I know you said you were in the military, but at what point, did you know being a carpenter is what you wanted to do?
Oh, I had no idea. I had no clue. This wasn't even my first option. I was accepted to the NYC in 2006 for hiring freeze. So I kind of found I was a stock. I did a bunch of different stuff to try and figure out where my footing was going to end up. So for me, it wasn't like I'm in 7th grade and I know what the rest of my future is going to be. And I don't expect any kid at 12 years old to do the rest of their life. But you got to look back, and like I do, I look back on the experiences that I had through learning. That hindsight, obviously being 2020, I can say now it makes more sense. I enjoyed working with my hands. I enjoyed physically soldering, learning about ohms and all of the cool stuff that we did back then. A little piece of wood to light a light bulb so it didn't blow up in your face. So cool stuff like that, and it all clicked later on. There's no one aha moment until 20 years later, basically.
I guess that's why the exposure is so important, right? Because if you weren't exposed, you wouldn't even have a clue that this was something you enjoyed or were good at. That's what middle school is all about. So for the kids that are saying why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? It's really about giving kids exposure, because you never know when you'll have that moment where you say, oh, this is something I really do enjoy. This is something I am good at. This is something I would like to learn more about. So the exposure is really important at a young age. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Me and Sean, we taught middle school before we were in the high school. So we both have good middle school backgrounds with projects that we did. So anytime you want to get together with us, we can help align that middle school program to kind of feed into us. I taught for 7 years in the middle school. Sean taught for 8 years in the middle school before we both transitioned to the high school.
So one of the things that I really like, Allison, that we've been doing is when we've had a professional on, and we've had a teacher in the field that we, in our buildings. And I actually love hearing the teachers talk about the work that they're doing and the professionals talk about the work that they're doing, because a lot of times all the time there's these overlaps of, what we're actually doing in school is actually what's going on in the real world. And because sometimes we get, questions from students saying, why are we doing this? It doesn't really matter. When we're hearing it right now that, the work that is going on in school, it does matter. And maybe you don't want to be a mathematician, but if you want to be working in the trade area, you're still going to have to know how to do math, and not just, 2+2. You're going to have to know some advanced level mathematical strategies and techniques, and maybe the application is different, right? But it's really important for students to see that what we're doing in school is translate into the different professions. So that's one takeaway that I've really been able to think about over the past 4 weeks. One thing that also has resonated with me is the idea of kind of reverse engineering, right? The whole idea of I think you're like the fourth or fifth person, Mike, that has said, it started with, here's a VCR, and I'm going to take it apart and try to put it back together, right? That's experiential learning on your own. And I think for our students, if they have some time and they're interested in any one of these type of fields, throw a YouTube video and maybe take something apart and try to put it back together. I broke my cell phone one time. I broke I broke the lens, and I was out of I didn't have insurance, so I YouTubed how to replace the lens myself, and I put it all together. It worked, but then I realized I didn't put, I think, the speaker part back into the phone, so I had to then take it apart again. But I looked at it as an opportunity to do, I'm going to take it apart again and put it back together. So it's just an interesting concept that I really think is important for our students to kind of think and understand and learn, is that, learning doesn't have to happen only within schools, right? It can happen, in your homes, on the weekends, after school. It's really kind of just saying, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot and see what happens.
Funny story. I keep this phone in that cabinet. This is an old slide keyboard cell phone that I broke the screen on. And the only way to change the screen on these phones is to take it apart from the back all the way through to the screen and then put it back together in reverse. I actually got the thing to work, and I keep this as a testament to being able to research and do just about anything, because this thing was impossible, absolutely impossible. So funny you say that.
We watch YouTube for everything. We watch YouTube all the time. Anytime something breaks, I YouTube it right away. I remember when I first bought the house, we didn't have attic stairs in the house. I only had that little crawl space through the closet. So at like 11 o'clock in the morning, I called my dad. I was at Home Depot getting stairs, 2x6s. I said, hey, come over, give me a hand. I want to put stairs in. He goes, why are you starting now at noon? I said, I don't know. I said, I watched a guy on YouTube do it in 15 minutes. Hung up the phone with me, didn't come over till the next day at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, it really is actually a great resource for learning, but even just the mindset. I think we're always talking about mindset and thinking about, how can I get better today, right? How can I take advantage of the opportunity that we have in front, and maybe learn something that I didn't know before, and right, rather than relying on someone to tell me like, hey, this is how you do it. You really want to learn. Take the opportunity and try to figure it out on your own, and draw your own conclusions, because that's how we really get better. So we're past half hour. We're getting ready to wrap up. Michael, is there anything you want to just maybe share with the viewers about any recommendations, advice for them as they come up through middle school and into high school, their own path? Anything you want to leave them with?
A lot of the life lessons that you're going to take away from school aren't going to materialize until you're older, and that's kind of the point of school. And you take it for granted. Once it's gone, you'll have these brief moments where you'll be questioning yourself on what you do, and in the back of your head, something will pop up that you learned in a random day in school one day that's going to greatly help you, and you'll say to yourself, "Oh wow!" And you'll think back on your teachers, and you say, "This teacher helped me with that." Even though I didn't like this one, I learned how to deal with someone I didn't like and still be successful. Not that many of your teachers are unlikable. Mostly it's the students' fault, I'm sure. But it's nothing is going to be too permanent right now, but everything that you are learning is going to be very pertinent to your future.
Okay, it's great.
Thank
That's
you.
very neat. Yeah, thank you so much.
Taking notes. Thank
So,
you.
and thank you for the people who have posted, Joe, Vincent, and Matt, and Board of Education member Seth Blau. Thank you guys for posting. I know a lot of people will take a look at this session later on. Just to wrap up, this will be our final week of our speaker series. Allison and I, we're gonna regroup and try to bring something fresh back to the community, and maybe in a week or so. We're going to revamp and refresh. So Wednesday actually will be our last day. Tomorrow we have on, let me get it. Tomorrow we have
Pastry
Allison Winterton. She's a pastry chef at the Sweet Piece in Lynbrook. And Wednesday we finish up with Susan Spindell, who works in fashion merchandising. So thank you, everybody. Have a good day. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.